One less little Terran dude potentially getting into the finals here, but a pretty exciting game nonetheless. Guys, we'll hop into game number 1 now. The map's going to be Star Station. Spawning in the top left position as the green Terran player representing Mouz Esports, ladies and gentlemen. This is the first game of the final day of DreamHack Summer 2013. He's been on an absolute tear in the last 6 months or so. Can he continue his run here? Let's find out. It is Lucifron. And he's going to be going up against the French player in the bottom right corner, joining one of his illustrious compatriots in the round of 16, trying to make it out of here, but he has one half of the Spanish Armada ahead of him. Will he be able to do it? Representing Millennium Gaming, we have JoRoSaR.
Now, the big thing about this map is the Reaper openings can be exceptionally strong, but for the moment, neither of these players getting down any gas geysers, and as I say that, we see Lucifron do, JoRoSaR do precisely that. So, yeah, why are Reapers so strong on this map? There's a lot of cliff area that you can try and utilize. You can get in, out very quickly, very easily. And remember, this version of the map is not forced cross spawns, and that is why they are checking the vertical spawn positions first. And it's always something that you've got to be very cautious of on which map version it is. We saw yesterday actually quite a lot of problems come from that. Probably the biggest one being, of course, XMG's Todd proxy 2 gating in the wrong base.
Oh yeah, that was funny. Just seeing, I remember seeing the post about pigs run through the tournament on Reddit, where there was a screenshot of a proxy 2 gate here, and the Zerg base was down here. A little bit of confusion there. Obviously, we thought they were forced cross spawns. I didn't actually get to watch that game, but I did see the screen grab, and that was pretty amusing. Todd did go on to win that series, I do believe. And Pig, as a result, got knocked out of the tournament. But what an excellent run the Australian Zerg player had. And Lucifron not quite getting the scout on this gas, so only seeing the Marine. Not 100% sure what's going on yet, and that's because that gas is going to be for an early factory rather than a Reaper.
Now, of course, this early factory is going to give him good opportunities to start getting a little bit of map dominance if he wants to. But on the same time, we see the Lucifron, he is also just getting up his gas going quite nicely. Got the reactor coming down. So this is going to allow him to pump out a good number of Marines quite early, going into an expansion straight after that. And now, this is going to put him in a good economical spot, as long as JoRoSaR isn't allowed to do too much damage early on. But with that factory coming down, with good production coming out, I think JoRoSaR could really be putting on the pain.
Well, Lucifron with this command center going down on the high ground as well, so he's obviously cautious about initial pressure. He's going to be grabbing a couple of Marines, like you mentioned. The factory right next to the barracks, I expect them to swap over, and possibly some Widow Mines for defense coming in from Lucifron if he's not interested in doing the damage a little bit early on.
Starport with a tech lab on it.
Alright, so we might go into some early game Banshee play here out of JoRoSaR. It looks like, of course, the potential change to research cloaking hasn't been implemented yet. It is still in the testing phase, so it's still going to cost 200 here and take slightly longer. But maybe we will see that coming out of here from JoRoSaR. Time will tell.
Yeah, the big thing is just knowing the tech lab's there and whether or not JoRoSaR does decide to go for it. Now, obviously on Lucifron's side, he's just getting down those Hellions. He's got the Starfall coming too, so he will be going for some drop play most likely. And the first Hellion for the moment is just coming across with the Banshee in production for JoRoSaR. A lot of dead space you can utilise around the main. Get in and out. Yeah, okay, so with Cloak as well, this can be a very powerful push. And I love the fact that JoRoSaR just checking the watchtower as opposed to running too far out with that Hellion. He does have another one coming down, but all of his early game aggression is centred around that Banshee. And he may even try and push in with just the Hellions.
Hasn't actually scouted his opponent yet as well. I mean,
oh, look at that scan!
What
Such a money scan. And see something researching the tech lab at Starport. So
yeah, that's really, really good. I wonder if Cloak is going to get cancelled once this scan fades now as well. It's going to continue for now. Second Banshee is coming out, and Lucifron knows exactly what's up. Moving his Marines appropriately just to make sure.
Also getting the engineering bay up, so ready straight away to shut down missile types. All near instantaneous reactions to this. That scan was so good.
As a general rule, guys, for particularly quick Banshees, especially with Cloak, 6 minutes 30 seconds is usually a reasonable time to get that scan off. And we can see a couple of Hellions now moving out from Lucifron. Here's the thing, I want to point out, JoRoSaR didn't scout his opponent here. He's assuming it's cross spawns, but this map isn't forced cross spawns. So arguably Dayshi lucking out a bit in that regard.
Which, again, it's actually been quite a big thing. We've seen it early on in the tournament. All these Marines are going to start pushing back. The Banshee's got to be careful. You can micro the Banshee to get a couple of kills on those Marines if you're careful, but not if you just stand
not
it
if he
still.
doesn't micro. Oh dear, and that's because he had the Hellions out at the front as well. And we've got a little bit of Hellion on Hellion action. Dayshi will be able to push that back, but he's going to be slightly annoyed at losing that Banshee, especially since Cloak is now complete. So it never got cancelled, and it also never got used. Generally a bad combination. We've got the armory coming down now as well for Lucifron, so we could potentially go into Hellbat production soon. The Orbit Command is now going to land. In fact, both sides starting to mine from their natural expansions. The current supplies are 61 to 54 in Dayshi's favor at the moment, who is also ahead in the worker supply, 35 to 31. Let's see what this Banshee can do.
Now, Dayshi is starting up the +1 vehicle weapon slightly sooner than that of Lucifron, but Lucifron got a good number of Hellions down on the field, plus that Viking, which is going to be so important to try and help deal with this Banshee, is just going to be able to get away with Cloak, and that's a scan there which was in effect wasted, not going to be able to achieve very much, and that's going to be good news for Dayshi, just reducing the mule count of Lucifron. However, Lucifron, with this many units coming across the map, is going to be able to put on quite a bit of hurt. However, Dayshi with the Hellbats there, cloak the Banshee! No cloak on the Banshee there, but Hellbats are down on the field for Dayshi. He's got the bunker up. He should be able to hold this off.
So mistakes being made by both players this game, guys. We see, of course, two Banshees now not cloaking from Dayshi. Well, the first one, the cloak wasn't complete, but he wasn't microing it. So two Banshees basically lost there. And Lucifron also scanning once and now twice without killing the Banshees as well. So both players suffering a little bit from early morning syndrome, otherwise known as gamers don't wake up at this time of the morning normally. As I take another sip of my coffee, which incidentally isn't stirred, so by the time I get to the bottom, if you hear me yelp on stream, that's all the sugar I put in my coffee in the last sip. But hopefully that'll give me the jolt I need.
That's fine, your pancreas can deal with it.
Okay.
Nothing to worry about. But yeah, as we see, a second armory I do believe now coming out for Dayshi, so he's going to be going for the double mech upgrades. And at the same time, Hellbat's coming out, tanks coming out. He's nearly finished +1 vehicle weapons. +1 vehicle weapons for Lucifron, slightly behind, but not by a massive amount. These two being relatively passive for the time being. I don't imagine that Dayshi's going to be wanting to move out anytime soon. They're going to want to get their tank count up higher, and he's just going to try and harass with his Banshee as much as he can.
Yep, and here comes the Banshee. He's only going to be hitting the refinery. I'd like to see him hit a couple of the SCVs that were in that refinery, and ooh, unfortunately running out of energy at the wrong moment there. Two Vikings will see the end of that Banshee. If we take a look at the units lost this game, Lucifron has actually lost more, and don't forget he's also wasted those two scans, but a lot was put in to Dayshi's cloak and those Banshees, which, to be perfectly honest with you, Metals, haven't done an awful lot. Only a single worker killed this game.
I guess the one good thing, as you said, there were those wasted scans. 3 double Hellbat drop coming forward.
Yeah, these Hellions aren't going to do anything, and therefore the Hellbat drop is going to get by them.
Yep, it's going to go straight through. It can go up into the main, but look at that. That is a Banshee, I believe. Oh no, it's a Viking.
Two Vikings.
Two Vikings, good positioning here for Lucifron, and therefore this drop is not going to make it through.
Depends on if he ends up changing trajectory or he just boosts past the Vikings. He might be able to boost past and drop his cargo, but at that point the medevacs would be dead. So he needs to get a lot of damage on these SCVs to make it worth it. I think you're completely wrong.
Oh no, the Vikings getting pulled at potentially the worst moment.
Ihan timing! Yeah, it looks like it's going to happen here. The medevacs are going to boost in literally a few seconds after the Vikings make it away. And Lucifron's going to be kicking himself. Double Hellbat drop into the main. And here we go. Oh,
lots
a little
of
bit late on
SCVs
the
going
reaction.
down.
Number of units, workers killed rather, 15 and counting. This is looking like a really, really successful drop for Dayshi. But it has to be said, in the meantime, we have the Lucifron coming out with the counterattack. Let's see how much damage he can get done. These Hellbats are still doing damage. Great micro from Lucifron, trying to kill them off with minimum damage done to his own units. Able to do so, and now we look at the counterattack against the third.
This third base, even if it doesn't go up, Lucifron is still in a really good spot because he, Dayshi's still in a really good spot because he does have that nice drop to go for. But oh, the SCVs all transferring through to the third. The Hellbats get a nice number of kills there. The tanks will be able to force them back.
Lucifron might go straight into the main here. He has options, and oh my god,
no.
those mules as well. Number of workers killed 19 to 8. And look at those mules that were dropped at the third base. So Lucifron doing some damage to Dayshi as well. Now, both sides are attempting to get their third bases up and mining. Note that Lucifron has some workers going in as well. And I think Lucifron, this actually gives him a slender lead in the supply here. He's up 108 to 98. So the counter attack from him did a reasonable amount of damage there, but now we need to see a little bit of anti-air, and it looks like he's going to be dropping on top of the tanks, but the tanks weren't sieged up, so able to get maximum DPS off Lucifron has to retreat.
He's still got 2 tanks though, and I think 2 tanks for 4 Hellbats is the sort of trade that actually Lucifron won't be really unhappy about. The third base was delayed for JT, and he got a couple of kills off there too. But the big story was those Vikings moving out from the defense of the main base, allowing many SCVs to go down to that Hellbat drop from Dayshi. And now he's achieved that. Actually, I believe the work account is slightly in his favour. And yeah, it is actually quite a lot in his favour. Plus, he hasn't had to waste those 3 scans that Lucifron did earlier to deal with the Cloak Banshee.
But to try and cancel that out though, just to play devil's advocate here, we did also see Lucifron during his drop roast quite a few mules at the third base location. Dayshi just wasn't in a position to defend both the third and the main. He was sort of getting his units in position at that time, and that gave Lucifron the opportunity to strike. So this game, very, very even at the moment. 136 to 133 supply. We have to look at the upgrade to see if we can tell any sort of difference between our players right now. We have another drop going down in the main base, a couple of Hellbats popping down, and it looks like we've got a couple of extra workers killed here, so Lucifron trying to sneak his way in. It's worth noting though that we have got +2 for Dayshi versus +1, and he's got the vehicle and ship plating as well. Dayshi also halfway through +3, so very soon his vehicle, weapons, and his attack upgrades are going to absolutely dwarf Lucifron's. I wonder if he's going to turn that into some sort of timing.
Well, if he does, he's got +3 coming down. There will be the small window of +2 over +1 is rapidly evaporating, but Lucifron, he's just going to keep piling on the pressure today. She keep those drops coming in. As long as he keeps killing off more workers and prevents his opponent from moving out of his base, he can macro up quite happily and catch up with those upgrades, catch up with the tech. +1 vehicle armor is complete though for Dayshi. That's because he's got the double armory. There is no double armory down yet for Lucifron, and that is really where the big upgrade advantage could be coming down. Plus a 4th command center for both players. This game is getting really, really intense.
And here we go, we have another drop coming into the natural expansion here. Oh, and Dayshi a little bit late on the reaction with those SCVs, it had to be said. And now the Hellbats are going to be cornered, unfortunately. The turret there ensuring that the medevac isn't going to be coming back in to pick them up. And ooh, SCV's getting transferred slightly early, but no work is killed with that particular push. So that drop wasted from Lucifron, and now Dayshi, he's going to be pushing out. +3 is about to finish as well. So he'll have an extra upgrade on the attack. And bear in mind, he's got +1 plating as well, which Lucifron does not have.
That's really quite a sizable mech upgrade advantage, and that is going to make it really tough for Lucifron to hold this off. He's got to get good positioning. The Viking on Viking battle is going to be very intense. If somehow they can get a good siege up, it is going to be very, very hard to break this. But in he goes, he's going straight past these Vikings. Dayshi is losing the air battle, but he's moving in with the ground.
Oh, Dayshi was not individually targeting the Vikings, so even though he was only down by 1, Lucifron actually ended up with 4 there, so Dayshi could have microed those slightly better. Now moving into the middle of that, we see the floating barracks here from Lucifron, knows exactly where Dayshi is. And, ooh, this 4th base from Dayshi could be in a lot of trouble. We have another Hellbat drop coming in on the right-hand side. Lucifron just trying to keep Dayshi's attention diverted elsewhere.
Oh, yes, he is!
Good God, oh, good God, oh, good God. Ah! Okay.
That could have been worse.
Not quite as many as I thought, but he's still up to 35 SCV kills this game. This is not what Dayshi would have wanted right now, and his supply actually dropping to 170 versus the Lucifron's maxed out. He needs to go while his upgrades are just this good. Look at this, he'll have +3, +2. There'll be a nice timing there where Lucifron is still at +2, +0. So this is a good opportunity for Dayshi to try and make a difference here, but if he's being held on his half of the map, that buys Lucifron the time he needs.
Well, Lucifron, he does need a lot of time, because +3 only just starting. Upgrade wise, he's getting +1 as well. +2 vehicle plating has just completed for the yellow Millennium player, and that means he's got a massive upgrade advantage here. But here comes the engagement. So many tanks for Lucifron there, and they are just annihilating the Splinter Force tanks on top. Dayshi is not coming out well on this fight.
Oh wow, there is a certain point where even with the upgrade advantage, if you manage to get this many tanks sieged up in one location, it's not going to matter too much. But the other half of Dayshi's army, though, has got something to say about that. He's sending Hellbats into this tank line, and Lucifron's actually losing a lot of tanks here, but is it going to be enough? It doesn't look like it. The Hellbat reinforcements are not up to scratch here. The Planetary Fortress getting pummeled right now. He's trying to keep the Hellbats close, and Lucifron moving in with unsieged tanks, extra DPS, and it looks like he will be able to get a decent trade-off here. 123 to 139 supply, both players boxing the hell out of each other. Those upgrades actually really coming to help dayshi there, because if it weren't for those, and if it wasn't for that extra DPS and extra armor, I think Lucifron, with that superior positioning there, would have crushed him in the fight, and we would have seen a massive difference in supply right now.
To be honest, I think we're seeing a pretty big difference in supply anyway. It may only be like 15, however, Lucifron has kept a good number of his tanks up, and he's at 9 tanks to just 4 of that of dayshi. He's also got still the S superiority. This game is looking really to go into Lucifron's favour at the moment, but as we've seen, dayshi was ahead earlier on with the work of kill cap. It's just the relentless drops and pressure that Lucifron's been applying that's allowed him to catch up.
And this could end up being a bit of a catalyst here. Look at this, Lucifron expanding non-stop. We've even got 2 more orbital commands out here in the middle of the map as well. He has 5, I mean they both have 5 orbitals each, but you can see Lucifron is actually actively expanding a lot faster than dayshi right now, which means that if dayshi doesn't decide to go aggressive in the next couple of minutes, that income advantage will really start kicking in for Lucifron, especially if he ends up taking the gases immediately there. And at that point, Hellbat drops, so he does actually know that it's there. And once these gases start getting saturated as well, I think Lucifron is going to start leaping ahead in that income.
One other thing to keep really close note of, JoRoSaR, is that the +3 vehicle weapons is about to finish for Lucifron. +2 plating is also a quarter of its way through. That upgrade advantage that dayshi has really enjoyed in the last few engagements is very quickly going. And with superior positioning, Lucifron, if he keeps that up, is going to be able to engage this army of dayshi very effectively. Yes, the supply advantage is there by 10 for the Millennium player, but Lucifron, he's just catching up so well.
An interesting shift in dynamic of this game, Maddles. We see tech labs going down on a lot of starports here for Lucifron, so could we be seeing an eventual battlecruiser transition here? And I say this also because look at this, air superiority is dayshi's at the moment. Lucifron donating Vikings. It's 10 Vikings to 3, and oh my god, here we go, the Vikings landing in the middle of those siege tanks as well. This is all out war, but dayshi getting a fantastic engagement against these tanks this time, and the Hellbats completely sweep through. Lucifron down to 153 supply, dayshi down to 173. The momentum is with the French player.
This is such a good engagement for dayshi. That is possibly a game-winning maneuver. Lucifron is going to have to pull out all of the stops in order to hold this off, but dayshi, he is pushing forward. He does not want to risk anything not going his way. And there is the GG.
dayshi wins game number 1 against Lucifron, ladies and gentlemen. Excellent engagement, catching those tanks out in the middle of the map at the